Alrighty, everyone, we are going to kick off the meeting, the Nantucket School Committee meeting of December 8th. It is now 6 p.m. I'd like to thank all of you for being here. We'll officially call the meeting to order. And I'm just looking for an approval of the agenda.
So, second.
Roll call. Vince Murphy.
Aye.
Esmeralda. Aye. Dr. O'Connor. And I am, she's not. Thank you, Vince. So I just want to announce that this meeting is being audio and video recorded. As we move into public comment, just a few housekeeping items. We ask that if you are speaking tonight, just limit your comments to 3 minutes. We will allow public comment for 30 minutes, as we do have a pretty packed agenda as is, and to ensure that we have ample representation of opinions tonight. If you've already spoken, we're just asking you to give someone else who hasn't had a chance to share their voice an opportunity to do so. As we are hybrid tonight, we will be bouncing between the folks who have signed up here and online. So if anyone online has wants to participate in public comment,
yes, it sounds like there's no audio yet, so we won't be able to begin public comment until we've assured that there's audio. So, but you can continue with the explanation if you want.
So we'll bounce between the physical location and online. That's all. And we'll pause for now.
Okay, we're ready to go.
Okay.
If I may, through the chair, I missed it if you explained that we'll be going back and forth.
Yes,
thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
So I believe Madden Myers has to leave. Yes.
Hi, I'm here today to
I'm sorry, Madden. If you don't mind sitting just so the camera can see you. You can, is there a chair? Is there a chair? Sorry. We're testing this new hybrid
Thank you, sir.
situation, so bear with us.
Appreciate it.
About the things.
Thank you, Dave.
All right, so that chair that she's in is the hot seat. That way the camera goes down and the audio's. Yes.
Hi, I'm here today to represent my peers, to set up success for the future students of NHS. I want to remind you of the 300 students in support for the turf field, of all the kids who have suffered season-ending injuries due to the holes in our grass fields and the stiffness in the ground, the track athletes who have to miss hours of school each week just to have a meet. The amount of children crammed into this room is meaningful. Remember these kids, these high school signatures, and the numerous athletes who have spoken on the issue in your votes. As a true representative of the athletes who will use this field, we vote for a turf and synthetic track. If we're willing to spend millions on redoing a grass field every year, an inconvenience to lacrosse, why not pay the price for the best turf available, one that's PFAS-free while also able to host track meets, one that will reduce field maintenance, create a safer environment with softer ground, allow for less slippery, muddy days, and no dust bowls to run through. We want facilities that match the same level of pride that we put into our sports practices and games every day of the week. Something that says, we believe in you, we see how hard you work, and you matter. Thank you for allowing the student to voice their opinion. We're so grateful that this renovation is happening.
Yeah, we're good.
Mary, that's it.
High school committee. So I understand in what I'm saying that the money for these two different things come from different buckets. However, thank you for the time and effort you've dedicated to the Capizzo Stadium planning process. As a parent of 3 children who do attend the Nantucket Public Schools and an alumni who has played on these fields, I appreciate the work involved. My concern is the imbalance of attention. This turf proposal has been studied for years through multiple meetings, consultants, and many hours of committee and superintendent time and money. Yet we have not seen the same level of focus applied to academics or curriculum, even as our students are clearly struggling. Your mission says you center on excellent and equitable education, academic goals, and curriculum oversight. Our data show why academics must be the priority. In the 2025 MCAS results, only 30 of 130 current fourth graders were reading at or above grade level. In 2024, only 25 of about 100 of our now 120 fifth graders met that benchmark. Think about that. 25 of 120 and 30 of 130 kids. Across grades 3 to 8, only 28% of students met the expectations in English language arts, well below the state's 42%. Based on these numbers, it's clear that the crisis in our school is not the material of one field. The crisis is literacy, the crisis is math, the crisis is early intervention and making sure our teachers have the support they need. I urge you to choose safe, well-maintained natural grass fields and direct your time and resources toward what is urgently needed, ensuring our students, such as my children who will be going through the schools, that they can read and write and do math at grade level. Our academic challenges deserve at least the same level of attention that this athletic campus has received. Do you want your legacies to be a toxic plastic field instead of successful and well-educated students? And just a reminder that the industry experts told us in the past that lead paint and tobacco were safe, and I think we now know that was wrong.
Too many parents online. We have grade 5 girls soccer team, Liddy.
Oh, this is my mess. Let it happen. Your legs going all the way up around.
Yeah, come as close to the table as you possibly can.
Keep coming on in.
Yeah, keep coming so we can get all of you. Yes, you're all on there.
To the Nantucket School Committee. We are the Nantucket Grade 5 girls soccer team, and we are writing to share why we believe our island needs turf fields and a real track. We love playing soccer. It's our favorite part of the week, and we work hard to represent Nantucket with pride. But many times our practices and games are canceled because the fields are muddy, unsafe, or full of holes. Sometimes we have to move practices last minute or stop playing altogether because the grass fields can't handle the weather. It can be disappointing, especially when we've been looking forward to playing all day. We also want to play on fields that keep us safe. When the ground is uneven, we worry about twisting an ankle or slipping. Last year, I sprained my ACL and almost tore it. That should not happen to young athletes like me. A turf field would give us a smoother and more reliable surface so we could focus on learning new skills, playing our best, and having fun with our teammates. We dream of having facilities that match our school pride. Other teams we play against already have better turf and fields, and it would mean a lot to us to have something just as good or even better here in Nantucket. A turf field and a real track would would make a real difference to every young athlete on this island in every sport. Thank you for listening to our voices. We might be fifth graders, but we care a lot about our school and our teams. We hope you will support this project so we can keep growing as athletes and proud Nantucket Whalers. Sincerely, the Nantucket Grade 5 girls soccer team, the coaches Holly Fernandez and Jenny Cook.
Thank you, girls. Good job. We have Brian Sullivan online. You're muted, Sullivan.
Thank you. Brian Sullivan, I'm here just to speak in support of both the turf track and the turf field. As a coach of a spring sport that had the pleasure of playing on the fields out at Nobodier, the kids really enjoyed it. We're not in a community that we have to make decisions about one thing over another. We have resources available. This is really a decision that's going to get more participation. It's going to get us out there and active. It's obviously risen a lot of voices from the community. These kids are doing a great job being here, standing up and supporting to something that they really believe in. I hope that the committee can pass this through to the select board and to the wider body of town meeting to make a decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Next we have Jenny Cook.
Thank you to the school committee for taking the time for this meeting. It's a big night, emotions are high, so I appreciate your time and energy on this topic. My name is Jenny Cook. I'm a Nantucket Soccer Club board member, a soccer coach, and a mom of 4 Nantucket Whalers. I'm here tonight in full support of turf fields in a synthetic track. As a coach, the number of times I've had to bring soil from my own backyard to fill holes on our fields before an opposing team arrives is honestly embarrassing. And I want to echo what Jamie Lauer, Graham Beasy, and Kate Garrett have said. Visiting teams don't want to come play on Nantucket because our fields are in such poor condition and are prone to injury. Turf would fix this, plain and simple. We should be striving to compete and win in every way possible. As a mother of 4 athletes, turf and a synthetic track just makes sense. We're building a future for our kids that we can be proud of. A future where we can finally host home meets and where our athletes have a safe, consistent, reliable surfaces to train on. And a synthetic track wouldn't just serve our students. It would benefit our entire community. It would be a place where elderly residents could walk safely year-round. I'd like to ask those opposed to turf, are you planning on allowing your children to play travel sports? Because if so, they will be playing on turf off island. Are you going to hold them back from those games? If you're so opposed to turf, then I ask respectfully that you hold your own children back from playing sports. Please do not hold mine back. I'm asking the school committee to reconsider and return to the original plan. As you vote, please remember the updated science showing PFAS are nearly non-existent in modern turf and synthetic track materials. Remember how boldly our student athletes have advocated for what they need. And remember what the majority of this community has asked for: turf fields and a synthetic track. You were elected to do what's best for our kids. We trusted you as public servants to put their well-being first. The student athletes have been loud and clear. They want turf fields and a synthetic track. Please don't let them down. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. Grace Hanlon.
I want to thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. My name is Grace Hanlon, and I am a student athlete at the high school. As we approach the decision about building a new track and turf field, I want to emphasize the important opportunities this plan would bring to our school community. A new track and turf field would strengthen our athletic programs, not only in performance, but in school pride. As a member of the cross country and track teams, I'm a part of a great community, but there's a lack of support and recognition because of the current conditions we practice on. For example, my teammates and I on the girls cross country team qualified for states this year, but hardly anyone knew unless we told them ourselves. A regulation-sized, safe, and modern track would allow us to host meets, bring more fans, and give our athletes the recognition they deserve. When making the decision, I think it's important to remember what matters most. The students. We are the ones who play on this field and compete on them every day. I also want to address the current field situation. I play lacrosse in the spring, and the field we use simply isn't working, and hasn't been for a long time. The field, mainly recognized as the football field, is uneven and unsafe. The countless holes and bumps in the grass have caused injuries, and despite continuous attempts to repair it, the improvements never last. Even after a summer without use, it returns to the poor conditions as soon as football preseason begins. A turf field would give us athletes safe, reliable playing surface and allow us to compete on the same level as other schools with more advanced facilities. Thank you again for your time and consideration, and I want you to know I'm not only speaking for myself, I'm speaking on behalf of my classmates, teammates, and friends.
Thank you, Grace. Next we have Kate Melt. Yes. No, I can't read your handwriting, I'm sorry.
I do want to make sure if there anyone that's didn't get on the list, but you guys have.
I appreciate that, thank you. Addison Bessie,
I can still, I'll still talk and see want anyone to not have a chance.
thank you.
Yes.
I'll come back to you. How's that?
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Addison Beasley. I'm a sixth grade at Nantucket New School and a student body representative. My parents have brought me to every meeting, and I have had the chance to listen to information, a lot of opinions, and I have had the chance to form my own. This year, I began CPS soccer and soon CPS lacrosse. I know that when we step onto those fields, we all become a team. But because of Nantucket rain, we often have to cancel our practices and games. Something that wouldn't happen if we had a turf field, and I would much rather have a rainy practice than no practice. When girls and boys walk onto nice fields, it makes them feel important. I know it would mean a lot to the people playing on those fields every day to have great fields. But being a part of a team means helping and supporting friends at all times of cost. And I'm doing that by being here tonight. I'm showing support to those playing sports, those people on my team. A team is not just our sports. I'm a part of a team with all the kids and parents who want change in our sports facilities. I have firsthand experience seeing kids get injured on some of these fields because of the overuse. We know that you all care about us and our fields, but like my dad always says, actions speak louder than words. So I hope you take action and consider adding a track and turf field. I also understand you want the kids' input on this, and from what I hear, 300 kids have signed a petition in support of a new track and field. And you have seen their kids coming to every meeting. So here we are speaking each of our opinions and taking part in the track and field debate. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Addison. Graham, you're next, but do you mind if I come back to you?
No problem.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Willa, our.
Hi, my name is Willa Arsenal. I'm here speaking tonight on behalf of the Nantucket Land and Water Council. Out of the interest of time, I'm going to keep my comments pretty broad tonight, but I have submitted a letter along with some reports and our previous comments to the packet. I appreciate the opportunity to speak. The Land and Water Council's mission is to protect Nantucket's land and water resources, including the sole source aquifer that supplies our public drinking water. In 2022, we opposed a proposal seen by the school committee for the installation of synthetic turf fields due to concerns about PFAS,
long-term material degradation, and stormwater impacts. Since then, understanding of PFAS has only continued to develop, which only serves to further highlight the need for caution around synthetic turf. As we learn more about PFAS and its associated risks, stricter regulations around these chemicals have grown in the last few years. Massachusetts has now adopted more protective PFAS standards, reflecting growing understanding that even very small concentrations of PFAS can pose risks to human health and the environment. There are far more sensitive PFAS testing methods for solids and non-potable water that are now widely accepted than were available in 2022. And any proposal moving forward should use the most comprehensive testing available to accurately characterize PFAS and turf components. Independent research continues to show that synthetic turf and track materials break down under real-world conditions, shedding microplastics and releasing PFAS compounds and PFAS precursors. PFAS-free claims remain unverified without lot-specific third-party analysis of every component. And even then, there's really no long-term guarantee about long-term degradation. In the last few years, other towns have taken to banning the use of synthetic turf materials. Other regional boards of health, like Oak Bluffs and Brookline, have moratoriums on synthetic turf because of these very concerns. They are particularly relative concerns on Nantucket, though. We only have one source of drinking water, and the proposed Kapisa Stadium sits in our wellhead protection district, which is a critical recharge area for our public water supply. Synthetic materials could introduce a large volume of microplastics, PFAS, and other contaminants directly into a very critically sensitive area. Nantucket already requires PFAS testing for private wells at property transfer, which is a strong signal that our community values precaution and safety when it comes to our drinking water, and the same approach should apply here. Natural alternatives exist. Properly designed and managed natural grass systems can meet the play hour demands at Kapisa Stadium. Grass fields can be maintained responsibly on Nantucket, which will create the kind of high-quality fields that meet the needs of our athletes while protecting our water supply at the same time. It's for all these reasons that we strongly encourage the committee to avoid installing synthetic materials at Kapisa Stadium, to require third-party independent analysis for any proposed materials, and to prioritize grass and non-synthetic options that protect our drinking water and our community. I'm happy to address any questions or answer any concerns at this time. We can provide more information or research if the committee finds that necessary. Thank you for your time.
Michelle Will. Michelle. She's here.
Michelle?
Michelle Will. She's coming. Oh, okay. Sorry.
Thank you very much for all the time and attention you give to our school and our community. My name is Michelle Whalen, and I'm here tonight as a community member and a parent. Regarding a track is obviously much smaller in square footage than a field. It's not permeable in the same way as it is often made up of or laid over a foundation of concrete and or asphalt. So I'm not addressing the track so much as I'm here on behalf of the community members who signed our letter, a copy of which should be in your packet, to express our deep concern about any proposal to install artificial turf fields. Because, as Willa Arsenault pointed out from the Land and Water Council, which full disclosure I work for in development, it has been shown in multiple independent studies, federal agency reviews, and peer-reviewed publications to contain or release PFAS, heavy metals, VOCs, PAHs, and other substances known to be toxic, carcinogenic, endocrine disrupting, or harmful. As Willa pointed out, we rely on a sole source aquifer for our drinking water. That means any contaminants introduced into our soil or groundwater, especially PFAS, for which the EPA has determined there is no safe level of exposure, poses a direct and unavoidable risk to the health of our entire community. These materials don't remain on the surface, they break down, they shed microplastics, which migrate into soil and stormwater and are carried by wind and runoff, creating long-term environmental exposure. Because synthetic turf, including alternative infills, are not regulated under federal chemical disclosure laws, the precautionary principle, which is first do no harm requires that the burden of proof falls on those advocating for installation of the turf. Whatever proposal we have for fields, it has to provide transparent, independent evidence showing that the proposed materials are safe for our aquifer and environment, otherwise they're endangering our entire community and our children. We're also deeply concerned about the end-of-life environmental burden because once they've reached the end of their lifespan, which with sports fields tends toward a shorter lifespan of 8 to 15 years, they become tens of thousands of pounds of toxic plastic waste. There is currently no viable, scalable method to recycle artificial turf, meaning it would have to ultimately be landfilled and stockpiled, which creates further environmental and health hazards for Nantucket, our landfill, and our future generations. Given that properly maintained natural grass fields are non-toxic, environmentally sustainable, safely disposable, and preferred by professional athletes in major sports organizations, including the NFL and the U.S. national soccer teams, it's clear that safer alternatives exist. Our kids and our community do deserve the best, and the best is sustainably maintained grass fields. That said, there are alternatives apparently that they are using in the UK, which are made from coconut fibers. Obviously, whatever alternatives are out there would have to be fully tested. It's possible that there's something safer. I would urge you to carefully consider any material and please test it before we put it out there on the fields.
Thank you, Michelle. We're just going to bounce online before we circle back to the folks in the room, to Bailey Lower. Bailey, you're muted.
Yeah, sorry. I'm just logging in to show my support for the turf and synthetic track. I'm an alumni of the Nantucket High School and played lacrosse for as long as I can remember, and I did run cross country my senior year as well. And I'm aware that the committee has received my letter, and I am here to stand by what I said in that letter, that a turf field and synthetic track would greatly benefit the future of the high school sports programs and the middle school sports programs, and benefit the young athletes who have big dreams like I did and will be able to accomplish it through this. And I'm just really grateful to be able to speak on this matter, as it's really important to me. And I know it's really important to my peers that I've played with all through high school. So thank you.
Thank you, Bailey. Let's take one person in the room. So we'll just circle back because now we're back to our crew that have already spoken. So we'll, Kate. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for getting to this point in the journey, if you can call it that. I just want to remind everybody, because it was such a beautiful packet that was put together for tonight, that the committee did hire Weston and Sampson, which is a third-party independent consulting firm that did as close to real life possible studies as they possibly could, which showed that there is no issue in terms of safety for health or the environment. So I think it's really important. That agenda can be found online under where you post for school committee meetings. So, with that, it's conjecture, opinion, hyperbole can kind of take a backseat to science. And in the face of fear or any concern, science needs to be our gold star and our North Star. So let's look to the science. Let's read what that report said. I did read through the 300-page document and was very assured once again that we're not going to be putting anything toxic or that would harm our students or the community in place on Nantucket. I think it's really important to mention that this isn't an opinion anymore. It's now turning to data and science. When the PFAS expert came a few weeks ago, she did mention that landfills and wastewater treatment facilities are the main cause of PFAS in water. So maybe that's where we can take some of this attention and focus. Feels a little misdirected to put it on turf when turf has been shown to be magnitudes lower than any consumer product, like makeup, like the sofa we sit on, like the cars we drive, like the carpet we roll on, like the playgrounds our kids roll around on this island. You can't say turf is toxic and then let your kids play on the playground. Those two things do not match up. It's also truly nonsensical to hold a consumer product to a drinking water standard when we don't do that with water that's irrigated and we don't do that with groundwater for grass field runoff. It has to make sense. Look to the science, look to the data, let that lead us, not opinion, not conjecture, not fear. When you have fear, let's turn to the science. That's all I know how to do in my professional career. And that's all I know how to do when I'm advocating for the kids. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. So we're just going to go back online to Rory Murray.
Hi, everybody. Real quick, I just want to say again, thank you for having this meeting called and get to hear everyone's opinion. I again just want to fully back support for a turf field and synthetic track. I ran cross country at the high school. I'm an alumni now, but I ran cross country since my 7th grade year, and it was always a challenge to feel safe at practice running around a gravel track where ankle injuries were frequent. I had many teammates actually have seasons get cut short because of an ankle injury and everything along those lines. I think everything that everyone has before me already said is completely on the money, and I just appreciate all of you being here to listen to that. So just a really big thank you to all of you for wrapping your minds around this. And
Keeping your head on the ground? If you're online, please mute yourself. You're not speaking.
and understanding just that a change may need to happen. To move forward together as a school, we ideally want to move forward. We want to advance all of our aspects, all of the things that make us whalers, and all of the things that make us unique and powerful. And we are a powerful school, and we have the ability to be even more powerful. We're already a dominant force in every athletic practice. And I think we can be even more so with a synthetic turf that will allow athletes to practice in any condition and a synthetic track to allow athletes to be really fast. So thank you. That's all I had to say.
Thank you, Rory. All right. Coming back into the grant.
Over the past few years, our community has spent countless hours discussing turf technology, PFAS, groundwater protection, and chemical safety. And that work was necessary. Everyone wanted answers. And thanks to the school committee's decision to commission a comprehensive independent review, we now have those answers. The Weston and Sampson study tested the actual materials proposed for Nantucket using highly sensitive parts per billion level methods, and the results were clear. The turf components showed no detectable PFAS. Total organic fluorine was not detected. The underlayment materials tested clean, and they identified a recycling facility in Rockland, Massachusetts. Even more telling, older turf versions they cited that once used PFAS containing processing aids had PFAS levels far lower than everyday items like dental floss or certain medications. So I think it's time. The conversation needs to shift because there is a double standard that we cannot ignore. We cannot shout PFAS every time turf is mentioned and then pretend the chemicals required to keep natural grass playable, fertilizing, herbicides, pesticides, fungicides, are harmless. All of that goes directly above our aquifer. A grass field used 1,200 hours per year cannot be maintained safely, no matter how much overseeding, sodding, or aeration is done. That level of use exceeds the biological limits of natural grass and results in dangerous, uneven surfaces. Also, one natural grass field uses about 1.7 million gallons of water. That's one field. And that happens even during droughts. So that is also a real burden on a coastal community facing water constraints. Meanwhile, this plan has been bottled up for years. The campus-wide master plan was developed in 2013. It is now 2025, and we have no new fields. Costs keep rising. It was 13 million in 2022. It is now 21 million. Our fields are not getting better. Our lighting is not improving.
Our grandstands are not becoming ADA compliant, and our track team still cannot host home meets. Delaying solves absolutely nothing. It only hurts kids and raises the price tag. The science has done its job. The concerns were studied thoroughly and resolved with real data. Now the conversation belongs back where it always should have been, our kids. Nantucket students deserve reliable year-round fields and facilities worthy of their effort and pride. We asked the science to guide us, it did. Now it is time to let the science clear the path for what truly matters, which is investing in our children. This is no longer a debate about chemicals. It's a decision about children. Please vote to advance the plan that the students are asking for and let the voters decide at town meeting. Thank you for your time.
Aisha Khan?
No. Thank you. Hi, I'm a mom of two my name's Aisha Khan, and I'm a mom of two public school kids. And like all of us here today, we want the same thing, playing fields that are safe and healthy for our children and also for our community and the environment. It's not just for today, but for long term. And I want to start by acknowledging our maintenance team that's worked extremely hard to get here with the budget and the resources that they have. And our fields today are in better shape than they were years ago when my husband played on those fields. And, they're way better than they are now. However, today what we have is we do have advanced support. And it is possible to get companies like STS to come and support our local maintenance teams. The budget, it would increase it a bit. I think the quote I got was 28,000 per year per field. And they maintain fields like Fenway Park and the Patriots practice fields. The quote they gave me was what it would be required per year if we wanted a field like Fenway. And that could supplement our own crew. So my thoughts were, if it's good enough for the Red Sox and the Patriots, I think it's good enough for the Whalers. So if we're going to take this seriously about player safety, player athletes, I think it's important to think about what do the professional athletes want. Professional athletes in NFL and in the sports, they don't choose their own fields. Owners, leagues, consultants, and operators makes those decisions. Usually it's based on scheduling, cost, or convenience, and not safety. And across every major sport, the message from players is consistent. They prefer grass. Right now, the NFL has 30 stadiums, half are grass, half are artificial turf. For the 2026 World Cup, FIFA requires grass at every match. That means that 7 of these NFL stadiums that have artificial turf must switch to grass just to host a game. If grass is the global standard for the world's best soccer players, why isn't it the standard for our own? Most importantly, this just happened this last week. After years and years of our NFL players' complaints that 2025 NFL and NFLPA, the union, came to an agreement that requires all 32 teams that play at those 30 stadiums, their surfaces be vetted from a library of approved and accredited field systems. It's progress. It's still not what they want, but it's progress. So now I'm just going to read some quotes from professional athletes about artificial turf and grass. Tom Brady. I think most players prefer grass. Maybe one day we can ask our ownership to put grass back in here for us players. Reggie Bush. If you say you care about player safety, then get rid of turf. If you don't want to do that, then don't say you care about player safety. Get rid of the turf. All the players hate it. Travis Kelce. I hate playing on turf. I think it's silly. DJ Reed. We make this league the money. Take care of us. We need real grass for all of our stadiums. George Kittle. Turf feels like playing on cement. Nick Bosa. They say they care about safety, but they won't let us play on natural surfaces. Tyreek Hill. Synthetic grass is bad for your legs. NFL, please, but we want natural grass. Some soccer players, Neymar. It's absurd that we have to discuss synthetic turf. Alex Morgan. On grass, my body aches. On turf, my legs ache for up to 24 hours. David Beckham. Every game, every team should have grass without a doubt. So the question for us as a community, and finally, so NFL zone survey.
I don't mean to cut you off. I'm just going to ask you to wrap it up.
Oh, sure. So the 92% of the players for the NFL say they prefer grass. So the question for us as a community is simple. If the elite athletes overwhelmingly want grass, If the global bodies like FIFA require grass, then, and if we can maintain high quality grass, fields, safe fields with a little increased maintenance, perhaps that's something we should get into. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, then. Then, we're going to, one last comment. We have Jamie Laura. Jamie? Comments?
Hi, sorry, one sec. Just navigating Zoom. Thanks for taking the time to listen to me. I think you guys all know where I stand. I'm in full support of the turf and the synthetic track. I just want to thank everyone for all the effort they've put in, and I do want to give a special shout out to the 300 students that have signed the petition, to the students, alumni that have come on tonight and expressed the importance of their thoughts on this matter, and to the 5th and 6th graders who have come up. It takes a lot of courage. I mean, if you can't tell right now, my voice is shaking, and I'm certainly not 10 or 11 years old. I just think that that really speaks to the passion with which these players feel the importance of a turf field. A lot of these players are not going to be in the NFL and will not have to make the decision of what they prefer. But it's clear to me, just from listening tonight, that they would prefer to play on turf. A lot of them are already going out to the no-deer farm fields to play. And I know all of the players that I've ever coached in over 12 years of coaching on Nantucket have expressed the importance of wanting a turf field and feeling like it would give them more opportunities to play. It would allow them to develop their skill, enhance and elevate their game, and also feel like they are proud of where they play. They wear that W on their jerseys with such pride. They deserve a field that they can walk across and be proud of. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. One last go around. Before we close public comment. Anyone has another chance to speak? Okay, great. Okay, so we'll go ahead and close public comment for this evening. Just full disclosure that Beth and I spoke earlier about the host of letters that have been shared with us. And we agreed that those should be publicized in some way, so they will be available on our website, just in the interest of transparency as we make our decisions.
If I may, they will probably be included in your next packet for the 16th. So that's where you'll find them.
We'll move into the superintendent's.
Great. Okay. Thank you, everybody. I'll start with student enrollment. This month, our enrollment has dropped by 5 students from 1,660 in November to 1,655 this month. We lost 1 student at NES. We also have 1 fewer student at NIS. There's no change at CPS. And we have 3 fewer students at NHS at the high school. So as always, we will monitor month by month to watch our enrollment carefully, as it is important for us to be keeping track of where our students move and how things change from month to month. I want to share a little bit about the Massachusetts Graduation Council recommendations. The Department of Education and the Massachusetts Executive Office of Education convened a K-12 state graduation council made up of representatives from a variety of stakeholder groups. That means parents and students and teachers and administrators, community members, a large group. The purpose of this group was to make recommendations on a statewide graduation requirement on the heels of question 2, which repealed the MCAS as a graduation requirement. They began meeting in the spring of 2025, and these are the questions in mind that they were addressing. Number 1, what should students know and be able to do before they graduate? Number 2, how should students demonstrate their achievements in ways that accurately reflect their skills and knowledge? And number 3, what conditions should be in place to promote meaningful and equitable student experiences? So the council has come up with a preliminary draft of a vision of a Massachusetts graduate, where students must show that they are thinkers, contributors, and leaders. Learning experiences that students should have must relate to a rigorous program of study aligned with higher education expectations. Students must show mastery through achieving successful scores on end-of-course exams and portfolios. For college, career, and civic readiness, a new C added to the list. They will be looking at completing an academic plan toward their career area called MyCap. So that will start at the middle school or even earlier and continue with them throughout their high school career and help them to support decisions made around college, career, and civic readiness. Students will also need to complete the federal application for student loans called FAFSA and the Massachusetts version called the MASFA, MASFA. So that will be a component of making sure that they are their college, career, and civic ready. There are optional areas that they will be invited to take part in, particularly around seals of distinction, such as the seal of biliteracy. And the state is looking at other seals of distinction, such as a career and technical education seal. And finally, a financial literacy course. All students are going to be required to take a financial literacy course. So again, these are preliminary recommendations, and superintendents, school districts are all looking at them carefully. The next steps for the Nantucket Public Schools will be to complete the state required data collection policy, which is going to be expected of us by December 31st. And it will be, we will need to submit an updated policy on the website. So we will need to create or update our current policy IKF, which will need to include end of course assessments and mastery language. So those of you on the policy subcommittee, I will be reaching out very soon. I think that's Shanta and Tim. Oh no, who else is on it now? Oh, Laura. Thank you. Sorry. You were on it before. I'll be reaching out to you and we'll be looking for a meeting so that we can work on that language. We do need to do a needs assessment on what our high school students need to complete a rigorous program of study and to enhance their career, college, and civic readiness around MyCap, around support on completing FAFSA and MASFA forms. And we also need to dive in more deeply at our next school committee workshop around this. So I'll take a break if people want to and need to exit that way.
I'd also like to recognize Dr. Lefty as asking a question.
Sure.
What were the concerns that were raised, saying it was sort of an MCAS, a surrogate MCAS?
So the issue is that without the MCAS assessment, I'll wait 1 minute. Without any assessment at all, it is the expectation is difficult to follow through on mastery because every district has a different idea of what mastery is. So the state feels the need to incorporate some kind of end of course assessment or portfolio that will be state created and state corrected, except for the portfolio, which would the expectation would be to be scored locally. This would not take the place of MCAS, nor would it be a requirement for in itself for graduation. However, it needs to contribute to the overall grade expectation. So if you fail an end of course assessment, that doesn't necessarily mean that you will not graduate and you will not get a diploma. So it is just an expectation, though, that it become part of a regular grading system in each of the schools. So in each of our schools in the district. Does that make sense?
No.
No.
That's a follow-up question.
Sure.
I'm sorry, Vince. Danielle had a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
You mentioned the FAFSA and the
MAFSA, yes.
Being like a requirement recommendation. Does that apply to everyone, no matter like?
I don't know all the details yet. This is just a recommendation. They're going to come to us with a lot more detail in particular about what the expectations will be, deadlines, timelines, when that happens, how we get support, because FAFSA is and MAFSA is also that's private information around family finances. So we understand that that is not something that necessarily needs to be completed in school while you're sitting in a class. But the point is that we're expecting to hear a lot more from the state around this. These are general initial recommendations. There's still a lot more that needs to come out of this. This is a council of people that came together to provide these recommendations. So that's still very new. You don't need to worry that you're a senior. This will not be an expectation for this year for you.
Thank you.
So
Thanks.
Thank you. So, did I hear correctly that you said that, it will not be a requirement to get a high school diploma?
it will always be a requirement to get a high school. Oh, you mean?
No, but
Yes, yes. So an end of course assessment, if someone does not pass an end of or show mastery on an end of course assessment, that does not necessarily mean that they will not receive a diploma. The district will have a determination about the weighting of that assessment as part of the grading system. So it could be that it's 15% of the total grade overall for the course. It could be 20%, it could be 10%. We as a district need to come up with those determinations. We will probably be there will probably be recommendations from the state around how high and how low we can go with. I mean, one end of course assessment can't be 70% of students' grades. I mean, that's just one exam. So
just asking, just to make sure that there is an incentive for students to take it seriously and do well. That's all I was trying to get to.
yes, it will be because it will count considerably. I wouldn't say it will count the same as a homework assignment, and it will definitely be an expectation that all students take it. So I should also include that MCAS will still remain as an assessment for our students. So end of course assessments will never happen at the same time as MCAS. MCAS is not going away completely in that it is still going to be administered every year. The John and Abigail Adams scholarships depend on MCAS. So if students want to receive those scholarships, which support going to state universities and colleges, then they need to be taking the MCAS in order to have opportunities to get those scholarships. So MCAS is not a choice at this point. It is still an expectation. The state still requires it, but it will not be a competency determination for graduation.
Thank you. I want to also, again, recognize Dr. Leopard for the follow-up question.
But if it doesn't mean anything, why would we think our students would pay attention to it? And it would mean that all our kids are above average.
It's a good question. It is an expectation. We have no choice but to administer it and try as educators to instill the importance of good test taking skills. Could be that it's a good practice or a good preparation for an end of course assessment. I don't know what the state is going to come up with. It could be something that looks a lot like MCAS for all we know. So I think it would be important, and we will have to do our best to promote that with students. So.
Any other questions for Dr. Tees?
All right. Just a thank you around e-bike regulations and a reminder at our last school committee meeting on November 17th, the Nantucket Police Chief Jody Casper shared with us the Nantucket Police Department campaign to ensure safe and legal operation of electric bikes. Differences between electric bikes and motorized bikes is still, a little bit confusing at times, but the standard is that an electric bike has a maximum speed of 20 miles per hour and does not have a throttle. Motorized bikes are considered anything higher than 20 miles per hour, and they do require a learner's permit or an actual license to drive. So the message has been sent out from the police department in this campaign, and it's really important that we continue to share this message. Town regulation still is in place that helmets are required for all riders on Nantucket. I certainly will be sending a message to parents and families in the coming days, reminding them of these new regulations, especially as some children may have asked for e-bikes as gifts in the holidays. Unfortunately, I have to share that Massachusetts has seen its first death of a minor due to an e-bike accident. A 14-year-old in Plymouth lost their life after colliding with a car, turning left. And so this is not to be joked with at all. It is incredibly important that we maintain safe regulation and safe use of our electric bikes. So we're going to continue working with the police department and making sure our students are safe. Any questions?
It's a very good article in New York Times Sunday about this very problem with a young woman that was nearly killed. I'm not sure how you put the genie back in the bottle, and I'm not sure you can. I don't think the police are equipped to stop every kid that's on a bike. Find out if it's electric or motorized or whatever that has a throttle. I mean, I think we'd be spending a little bit more money for the police.
If I may, we do have we have parking areas for our e-bikes. So for those who decide to park them there, which we encourage very much, we do not allow it in the front of the school. But for those who decide to park there, they are available for us to review. So we are able to check model numbers and there are police that are stationed right next to our e-bike parking area. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's already occurred. I know that students are quite savvy and may have found other locations to park their electric bikes. However, we will do our best to continue to communicate closely with the police. They have set up some other areas to stop students or anyone riding e-bikes to make sure that they're, that things are done appropriately. The challenge is you do not want to stop an e-bike that's going 20 miles an hour. So you really do need to be in a place in order to have a conversation with someone when that is a natural stopping point. So it's a crossing area. I believe that they are going to have those checkpoints in different locations around the island in the hopes that they can at least stop and talk with people. I know that this is very challenging, and I agree with you. The genie in the bottle may not be able to be put back in, but at least we are trying, and we do have support from the NPD, which is one of the things we asked from the beginning.
There is not a biker that I've seen stop the stop sign, whether they're an electric bike, motorized bike, or a pedal bike. I think that I would challenge anybody to see that happen.
Point taken.
Any other questions?
One final piece for additional updates. I wanted to congratulate the orchestra, band, and choral teachers at CPS for a magnificent concert that happened last Wednesday. Really excellent, and congratulations to them and to the administrators. So, Mike Horton, I see you here. Congratulations. And we do have an upcoming concert at 6 p.m. on December 10th this week for the Nantucket High School band and orchestra. Band and choir. Orchestra is on its way to becoming formed at the high school level. We're still working on that. The Accidentals and Naturals will have their annual dessert cabaret on December 15th at 6 p.m. and at 7:30. So those two are available. Those two time slots are available if you'd like to get tickets and join. It's a lot of fun. And they do have delicious desserts. And just a reminder, and a reminder of thanks also to the school committee that December 23rd, which is a Tuesday, is now a half day for the district with early dismissal at 12 p.m. So I just want to make sure that's clear. Any questions?
So we will move into item 6 on our agenda, presentations and discussions of issues to the committee. A is the Buda Visa State and Renovation discussions. And we have Stephen LaRosa, Weston and Sampson, John McNukin, and I'm very sorry if I'm butchering your names, from SMRT Alpha Engineers Online. Which one of you would like to start? John, you look like you're unmuted, so you're on the spot.
I'm good. Yeah, thank you very much here. I'm going to share my screen and we'll get rolling here. Just one moment. Okay. You guys see me? See my screen?
Yep.
Wonderful. Okay, so good evening, everyone. My name is John McMeeking. I'm a landscape architect with SMRT, and I'm joined by my colleague Ken Costello, who's a senior landscape architect and senior principal with SMRT. as well as NPS's environmental consultant, Mr. Stephen LaRosa from Weston and Sampson. So we'd like to thank Dr. Hallett and her team, as well as the school committee, for the opportunity to speak on this important project for the schools. So in response to questions and comments and information requests that arose after the last school committee meeting on November 6th, this evening, we'd just like to share some additional information and data just to ensure full transparency across the board. So what's in this project? What's not in this project? This is what's in the project. These new amenities. So a 400-meter running track, either asphalt or synthetically surfaced, a natural grass or a synthetic turf athletic field, 980-seat home grandstand, 100-seat visitor bleacher, new state-of-the-art LED field lighting, team room building, boosters and concessions building, visitor parking and emergency field access, and comprehensive ADA upgrades across the board, as well as extensive utility upgrades and connections, primarily sanitary sewer, water, and electrical services. At the last meeting, we reviewed 3 options for the track and the field, which includes number 1, a natural grass field and an asphalt track, a natural grass field and a polyurethane surface track, and a synthetic turf field and a polyurethane surface track. So these are the options, option 1, 2, and 3. I just want to reiterate, SMRT is not here to advocate for one option over the other. We're simply providing information so that NPS can make the decision that's best for the future of the student athletes and the community as a whole. You hear my cats screaming in the background. Apologies for that. Cost estimates for the project have been conducted by PCM. They're based in Portland, Maine. And as things currently stand, there's approximately a $3.7 million difference between options 1 and option 3. Please note these numbers do not include architectural and engineering fees, OPM or an owner's project manager fees, as well as independent testing labs. So you got, 20 million and change for option 1, which is the natural grass and the asphalt track, and up to almost 24 million for option 3, which was our synthetically surface track and our synthetic turf field. At the last meeting, we discussed field conditions, primarily natural grass field conditions based on the hours of use that field receives each year. As you can see from this chart, if you remember from the last meeting, 200 hours or less is, ideal. That's very high level. Field's not getting a lot of play. All the way up to any more than 1,000 hours, we're looking at significant turf loss, field damage, and unfortunately increased potential for athlete injuries. It was requested that the existing field usage analysis that was conducted in 2021 be updated to reflect current conditions in 2025. So Travis, Matt, and Chip, thanks guys, have recalculated the field usage hours for the present day. And you can see here on this top row, we've got the Capizzo field coming in at about 820 hours. The upper fields, which are adjacent to Sparks Avenue, were close to 1,300 hours. The NES fields, close to 1,100 hours. And the Bacchus Lane fields, approximately 1,200 hours. Now, the Capizzo Stadium field did go down in hours from our analysis based on 2021. And this is actually due to the fact that a lot of, primarily varsity girls soccer are playing at the Noberdier Farm Road turf field. So that sort of, last time that number was was closer to 1,100 for the Capizzo field. Now it's around 800, but we also have, almost 200 hours of play at the Noberdier Farm Turf Road field. Another important discussion is the project schedule. So from a high level perspective, there's approximately 3 to 3.5 months of design and engineering to complete. We have completed the schematic design phase, but we still have some work to do to get to that final construction document phase where the project drawings and specifications will be ready for bidding. Permitting, which primarily will involve the Historic District Commission, that can take anywhere from a month to a month and a half, depending on how things go with that commission. Bidding and negotiation, about a month and a half. This project will be publicly bid under the Massachusetts General Law. That's Chapter 149, and that includes not only general bids, but filed sub-bids based on specific trades. So this can take a little bit longer than privately bid work. So we usually like to factor in about a month to a month and a half for that bidding and negotiation period. And then the one that everyone wants to know is how long is this going to take to build? So construction, it's sort of difficult to give you a spot on calculation at this point. There's a lot of variables at play. But probably somewhere from 12 to 18 months of construction. So we've got the island factor in there. There's weather. There's the general contractor and the competency of all of his or her subcontractors and trade groups. So construction will take at least a year, maybe up to 18 months. There are some other important aspects of the schedule that need to be considered. NPS will need to select a project manager, an OPM. This is required in the Commonwealth for any project that has a building involved. It costs over $1.5 million. So an OPM will be required for this project. And we will be doing regular cost estimating, at least after the design development phase, which is that second phase of design, and just before the end of the construction document phase. So as far as the design timeline, we start with schematic design, then it moves to design development, and then to construction documents, which are the final piece that gets bid on the street. So hypothetically, this is a schedule. If we were to say that the design and engineering were to be authorized essentially immediately, the design and engineering would take to mid-March to complete. The permitting, this can happen simultaneously with the design and engineering. So once we reach that second level of design, that phase called design development, typically drawings are far enough along where we can permit the project with the necessary regulatory groups. So say we finish the drawings and specifications in mid-March, we'd be bidding the project immediately. And again, as I mentioned earlier, that can take about a month and a half. So late April, you would have bid numbers, bid results in hand. So we would really know what this project would cost. Annual town meeting in May, and if all goes well, construction would start after graduation, late June, and could take as long as December of 27 to fully complete. So again, this is hypothetical. It's based on authorization to continue the design essentially immediately. During the last committee meeting where we were all together, we did talk about turf recycling. So I just wanted to touch on this one more time. Contrary to what some statements that have been made, it's fully capable of recycling synthetic turf, and it's done mechanically, and we're able to actually recycle the entire turf system. And when I say system, that means the carpet, the backing, the infill. That's really the system. Those are all recyclable. So the infill materials are separated, they're washed, and they're packaged for reuse in other fields. The carpet and backing are shredded and they're converted to low density polyethylene pellets. And those are resold in the marketplace for use in additional manufacturing processes. Most importantly, I just want to locate or point out the location of Turf Recyclers USA. This is in Rockland, Mass. So we're not shipping the turf at the end of its turf, life cycle halfway across the country, or heaven forbid, putting it on a barge to send it to the Netherlands for recycling. We have it right here in the Commonwealth. So this is a fully operational facility. It's open. They are recycling right now. They have a capacity to recycle about 5 million, square feet a year. So that's approximately, 50 to 100 fields that they can recycle a year. In addition, Tenkata, which is arguably one of the largest turf manufacturers across the globe, they have a recycling plant in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Again, that's been open for, I think, 4 or 5 years now. The Turf Recyclers USA in Rockland hasn't been open all that long. I think just a few months now, but they're open and they're accepting turf and they are recycling it. So contrary to what has been said, it's happening. And this is a huge thing for the turf industry. As people have said, it is for a long time, these fields have, at the end of their life cycle, they have been put into landfills, and no one likes that. No one has liked that. But until the last few years, that has been happening, and we're very happy to see that now things are changing for the better.
John, before you move on, I just
Yeah.
want to acknowledge Dr. Lecter with a question.
I mean, I think I'm very happy to hear this because previously we were promised that there was a plant down in Pennsylvania that apparently this is not a particularly remunerative operation because they went out of business before they did very much except stack up all piles of turf. But I'm interested to see that this appears to be much better.
That's correct. Yeah, that I think it was called Rematch was the company that was working on a plant, but yeah, they weren't able to fund that operation. Yeah, we're pretty excited about this, and it's good for everybody.
Any other questions before John moves on? Thank you, John.
Yep. And I just wanted to jump to one more slide for me. At our last meeting where we were here, there was a discussion or a point brought up about Marblehead, Massachusetts, and stating that they're able to maintain their fields organically, all natural grass fields organically, and get up to 1,300 hours a year on these fields. And while this is true that they do primarily have natural grass fields in Marblehead, and they're nice fields. I'm not, saying anything like that. They have great fields. It's important to note that the hours that they were claiming to get on the study that they did were some of the hours were for activities where heavy use, in particular, athletes wearing cleats were not using. So some of the under 10 youth sports leagues, summer programs and camps, they were counting those hours, as well as informal passive recreation like frisbee and picnics were calculated and added into that 1,300 hour calculation. So I just think that's important to note. And it's also important to note that, as you can see here in this bottom left photo, Marblehead does in fact have a synthetic turf field at their high school. It was funded entirely through their booster program. So high school sports, their games are played on synthetic turf. So I just wanted to clear up some of that information. Marblehead does some great things with their natural grass fields. They should be commended for that. But I just want to make sure that people do understand that some of those hours were for for light use, and that they do in fact play on turf. At this point, unless there's any questions for myself and Ken, we can answer now, or we can wait until after Stephen has spoken a little bit about the testing and some of the scientific data on the synthetic turf system option that would be proposed if synthetic turf were the route that the public schools would like to go. So thank you again for your time. Really appreciate it. And I'd like to hand it over to Stephen.
Before Stephen goes, Dr. Lepper, you had another question?
Where does Marblehead get their water from?
I don't know where they get their water from.
Okay.
Nothing else? That's none of them? Okay, we can move on to Stephen. Thank you.
Great, thanks. I didn't put together a presentation just because I figured you folks are going to hear from a lot of folks tonight, and really there isn't a whole lot for me to show from what I reviewed. Basically, I was provided with a number of analytical test results of Tenkate's and Brock's artificial turf system materials. And those had been tested for the presence of PFAS by a couple of different test methods. What I'd like to say is that for the folks that have lots of concerns, the industry has heard your voices. And I think we've seen that in the fact that there are recycling facilities that are up and running, and there are more being proposed. And the manufacturers have been working very hard to try and remove PFAS from their manufacturing methodologies. So there has been movement since the last time I spoke with you folks, I think back in 2021, 2022, and they seem to be developing materials that can meet the high levels of use, but not require the addition of PFAS in their processes. So the testing results that I saw, one set was from November of 2024. Another set was from September of 2024. And these included a test of the, quote, entire turf system from Tenkate, and then the three components of Brock's system, which was the shock pad, power base, which is the actual turf itself, and their natural infill product. All of these products were analyzed by two methods. One identifies individual PFAS, about 70 by one of the methods that was used, and 40 by the other. No individual PFAS were identified in either of these tests. And that's different than what we saw back in 2022. Back then, we did see some very low levels of identifiable PFAS in the samples of similar materials. So that's great news. And the detection limits, or how low they could see concentration-wise this time around, the labs have improved over the years. Those detection limits have improved. Where previously those detection limits were kind of near where the levels are for Massachusetts for soils, for instance, this time around, those detection limits were 5 to 10 times lower than that. So that gives us a little bit more confidence in the fact that these individual PFAS are not present. The second analysis that was done is something called total organic fluorine. And not to give a chemistry class, but basically PFASs are compounds that are carbon bound with fluorine, carbon being the organic part. High carbon materials are organic. So what this test looks for is carbon with fluorine bonded to it. And unfortunately, there's not a standard method for doing this yet from EPA or any of the individual states. So the laboratories come up with their own methods. And these have been used for, I would say, probably 6 or 8 years now, and they're getting fairly standardized. The states have defined total organic fluorine concentrations above 100 parts per million as indicating that a product has PFAS added intentionally to it. So PFAS has been put into the product to make it more waterproof or oil resistant. Again, the test method isn't standardized, and there's no state or federal regulations to how much total organic fluorine you can have in a consumer product. But most of the states that have bans and most of the regulations that talk about total organic fluorine reference 100 parts per million. The test came back on all of the turf materials at non-detect at a level of 1 part per million. So that's obviously 100 times less. Again, giving us some of that additional comfort that the test sees well below what that threshold is. So those are all great results. However, our recommendation is always to perform testing and have the specifications for a particular project include the requirement to test the materials and the lots that are being sent to you for PFAS so that you can show basically from cradle to use that you actually have the material that was tested and it did test to a level that's acceptable for PFAS. So we do strongly recommend that. It looks like the manufacturers are now coming up with materials and methodologies where you can get those non-detect results. So there's no reason not to require them to show that for your specific materials. There's lots of other kind of science and discussions in my letter, but I think that really gets to the crux of the situation and of the testing that was performed.
Even Dr. Ledbury has a question for you.
You're talking about parts per million. We talk about water is going to be 4 parts per trillion. So what does that calculate out to?
So the parts per million is the total organic fluorine concentration in a material. And there's lots and lots of organic fluorines that an organic fluoride that's out there that isn't PFAS. And so what it seems like the folks who have come up with these bans have said is that there isn't PFAS added into the material if you're less than 100 parts per million. The part per trillion in water is once the PFAS is actually in the water, if it is in the water. In soils, the concentrations that Massachusetts uses to assure that PFAS won't leach to the groundwater or migrate to the groundwater are in parts per billion to prevent the parts per trillion in the water.
But if we're off by a 1,000, factor of 1,000.
We're off because of the detection limits in the solids. We're off by about 500. But we're comparing two different things. We're comparing the micrograms per gram of material in the solid form versus micrograms per liter in the liquid form, so they aren't directly equivalent.
You haven't said anything about microplastics.
I wasn't really asked to talk about microplastics. It was really to discuss the chemical makeup and looking at those chemical results. With regard to microplastics, that's an even less understood methodology for testing and for regulation.
But you got 20 tons of plastic in the field, approximately.
Yep.
And that field is going to wear down, so you're going to get microplastics released.
They absolutely, the plastic will be broken apart and broken down over time. I'm not familiar with what the design of drainage and all would be at this particular field. I know that in other fields that I've looked at and been involved with, any and all rain that falls on the field and runoff is captured. Any solids separated through basically a separator, and then many of them that I've worked with actually infiltrate the rainwaters through infiltration galleries. But the capture of any blades or if there's any infill that might run off happens in that separating unit. But I haven't seen any conceptual designs here.
But what
Yeah,
leaches out is going to be in.
That's what I think Ken Costello was about to answer your question.
Sure. Thank you, Steve. You're right. The system is a closed drainage system. We'll be collecting all the drainage for the field itself into a collection system. So yes, we can filter that. We can capture we're going to capture the stormwater. It doesn't run off the field. We can also incorporate additional trapping mechanisms, grates, and walk-off mats if that's the case. It's common practice nowadays to put in different mechanisms, physical mechanisms to do that to prevent the migration of any plastics coming off the field. The infill is going to be organic, so there's no rubber in the infill itself. So it's only the plastic fibers itself as they break down. Again, there's 20,000 pounds of plastic blades on that field. Every time I wash my fleece vest, I wash microplastics down the drain. So microplastics are out there, but we can do design pieces to mitigate that.
But you're sitting on top of a recharge zone for the aquifer. That's my only concern.
Absolutely, and that is, we discussed, I think last time, the fact that you are right in there in that recharge area, and that there are lots of inputs right now to be concerned with out there, and that's understood. And I think that's really why, as I said, it's nice to see that the manufacturers have responded to the concerns about water quality and infiltration by changing their chemistry, so that those PFAS apparently they're certainly non-detect at a much lower level than what we have seen previously.
What about heavy metals? Lead, cadmium, antimony.
I know that previously those were concerned with crumb rubber infill.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
But they are not a concern with plastic.
So the Synthetic Turf Council has eliminated all lead in the manufacture years ago.
I know there were several fields that closed down because of lead on the blades of grass. But That was several years ago.
Vince, you had your hands with Vince?
It's just a simple question. Can you re-describe the drainage system, the funding, the water capture system again, so that we can understand that the risk to groundwater is being minimized or not, as the case may be?
Yeah, we had designed it previously back in 2022, 2021, and basically the system is an underground system. So as water lands on the field, it drains straight through the field. The fields are designed to drain vertically. It goes into a stone layer basin underneath the field. We have a set of drains within that, flat drains. Those flat drains drain to the perimeter drains of the field. There's two pipes along the outside of the field in stone channels, and then that goes into an underground detention facility that basically infiltrates that water down into the ground. It's not, we don't have any off-site drainage pipes that leave the site. Everything is done on site.
Okay. And is there any maintenance on that to clean it out to make sure that it's
Yes.
working correctly? And then if so, could we undertake testing to make sure that any risk to groundwater from during cleanings is so we can understand that it's minimized?
Yeah, all the water is collected in one or two locations. So they're accessed through manholes. Yes, there's periodic maintenance and inspection. There's inspection ports within that system, so you can, and if need be, you can maintain it that way. So yes, you could potentially test the water at that location if you wanted to.
I would just add one complexing factor, which is that the rain that's falling on the field has PFAS in it. So if we were sampling at this collection area, I would also recommend that we sample the rainwater itself so that we can see if there's a change. You're very likely going to see PFAS in any water that's being collected from any area because of that presence in the rainwater and in the snow.
One last question then. So PFAS is in the rain. Is it fair to assume that PFAS is also in the clothing, the sporting goods, probably the footballs, the players' cleats? So this is something that's just going to get into the turf no matter what. And that would also be true if it were a grass surface.
Absolutely. The soil that is there already has PFAS in it that's out in the field right now. And yes, lots and lots of athletic wear has PFAS associated with it. So it will get out there, but again, when you're talking, I think somebody said 20,000 pounds of field and 2 acres worth of runoff. The input from dozens of cleats and those kinds of things will be pretty well overwhelmed by that mass that's in the rainwater, frankly. Or if there was something that was released from the field. And again, we haven't seen any studies that have shown that, but there's a lot more square footage and volume associated with those things. But yes, some of the highest concentrations I've seen in consumer products are really high quality leather footwear and real good quality waterproof rainwear.
So just as a comment then, the only benefit in testing for purchase is to ensure that the product that we bring here is PFAS free, and then after that, it's all bets are off. So it's just an environmental issue for the product we purchase to make sure that we don't have a net contributing factor from the purchased and laid turf field.
Exactly. It's to make sure that what's delivered doesn't have PFAS at levels that are of concern.
But there is no safe level of PFAS.
There's no safe level of PFAS in drinking water. there are a number of regulations that have been put in place, including in Massachusetts, with regard to dermal exposure, so soil, water for washing, and those things. But for drinking water, it's been set as no safe level. And again, drinking water is based on drinking the water for 70 years.
I'm curious, just to kind of, I guess we're shifting the conversation just a tad bit, and I'm not sure who will have the answer to this. But I'm just curious if the proposal that eventually makes it to town meeting, right? What happens if this project ends up costing us more than we put on it? Will it get stuck? How do we, just thinking about construction and building on island, just from the town perspective, it's very rare that any of the projects we actually start by the end, it ends up being exactly what was proposed or projected. I'm just curious, how would we make up for that?
Right, Madam Vice Chair, would you mind allowing Martin Engelov to speak to that?
Usually projects like, oh.
Yeah. Thanks, Vince.
Usually with projects of the size, there might be a borrowing authorization of certain limits because it's a big capital project. And if need be, there might be a request for supplemental funding at a subsequent town meeting. So that would be the discussion of if the project costs are prohibitive, that from what was approved at town meeting, we'll need to go for supplemental funding and get a vote on that. Because it's subject not just to town meeting approval, but also to approval by the voters in the on the ballot.
So I only have a pen and paper, and because I suppose to Martin.
More questions for you. Nice try.
Sorry. I'm only trying to do math in my head right now, and I'm only okay at doing math in my head. It was something like, what was it, 13 million a couple of years ago, and now it's 23.9 at the upper end as an estimate. What was the year? I think I had done it like, it seems to be going up on price by 12 to 15% per year is what I had it worked out in my head. Is that about right?
Originally, I believe when we came with the project, it involved also the tennis courts and the baseball field, which we ended up going with because that project was not brought to town meeting for. So because of that, there was a cost associated with the total project, and obviously there would have been savings at the time. Now costs have increased.
So that if we continue to wait, anyone like this base number of 20.2 million up to 23.9 million, if we just put it off, it's going to keep going on.
Yes, I believe so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? So I just want to make it clear, because I know this is a subject that we're all very passionate about, that we won't be taking any votes tonight. So that gives you all an opportunity, if you have any further questions or comments, to please email them in. I did see hands raised for questions to our folks online, but we just can't take them now. But if you do have questions, please send them in so that we can get you the answers that you're looking for, and so that we can also factor in the concerns as we make that decision. Okay.
Just for the students and families that will be watching, where exactly do you send them into?
If I may, yes, you can send to the superintendent. I can share with the school committee. That's a one single. If you have the school committee emails, you're welcome to send them to school committee, but I can certainly do it one way and send it off.
Thank you.
Sure.
And all of our contact information, if you prefer to send them to us, you can find them on the school's website.
Yes.
One more question.
Yes, sir.
Is there a possibility of getting a sample of the projected turf to get tested with an independent lab?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And like I say, we would strongly recommend that any specifications for a system that you would like to install, that actually get the lot that's going to be sent to you. As I said, the data I looked at is almost a year old. We're assuming that they haven't changed their methods. We're also assuming that the people who provide them pellets haven't changed anything in their operations. You absolutely want to analyze what's going to come to the island before you accept it as the material you'll install.
Yes, the independent testing lab will have to get it directly from the manufacturer at the manufacturing plant, because as soon as it gets outside on a truck and it's delivered to the site, it's been rained on.
We can move forward.
Thank you all for being here. We will move to 6B on the agenda. I can pause if there's anyone that would like to escape the room for a few minutes.
Short recess.
And thank you all online.
Thank you.
Stephen, John, and Ken for being.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks very much.
You two can escape if you would like to. Don't have to stay with us. You also more about like
I don't know how long.
No, they're just saying
No, it's exactly.
Student athletes have higher grade plans than the non-student athletes.
Yeah, I don't think that's the student athletes that are grade.
My daddy.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Horton.
All right. So we are going to end our little mini break and go into, like I mentioned, 6B federal grants. We are asking Melissa Bennett, Barbara Cohen, Deb Gately, step up to the hot seat. Oh, it's tight. Just lean over and look at each other. There you go. Your presentation today. I will do that. And we thank you for that.
If
Figure
I
out this hybrid thing eventually.
Yeah, if I may, we're gonna get the presentation up for everybody. So give us 1 minute here.
Yeah.
And which this one? Yeah. It won't do anything. Do you know how to do this?
Can you share the screen?
May I ask, because he's gonna help us to get this screen.
Yeah, you have to go back to the screen.
So this is from the,
For those online, bear with us. We're just trying to share the presentation. Okay, yeah.
what's the best we can do?
Plus the comments.
Yeah, we shared the.
You gotta share the agenda.
Was it the PDF document that you were trying to share?
No, I'm just trying to show the slides, I think.
Yes.
We have it as a
It's a
PDF
PDF.
Yeah,
document.
That is that.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure why that's not.
I think it's because you minimized it. Yeah. So no, you minimized the actual document.
No, I didn't. It's right here.
Oh.
I'm not sure why it's not working.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
On the bottom of the scene. On the bottom of that page.
Click that one. Maybe that's it.
Nope, that did the same thing. All right, yeah, I know.
All right, we don't have access to it for those online, unfortunately. So we apologize to those of you who are online. We will certainly we can certainly share the if you can also log into the school committee tab on the npsk.org website and pull up this document as part of the packet that was posted. So if you want to follow along, we'll do our best to get to have it be comprehensive. Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to talk about federal grants tonight, and I will do Title 1, 2, and 4. Barbara is going to do Title 3, and Dr. Gately is going to do IDEA. So for the first part of the presentation, I'm just talking about how we have to take all these federal grants and they have to be aligned to our DIP. So we have looked at a strategic planning through our DIP, and we are looking at pretty much professional development and summer school. So summer school will be offered in 2026, and it will be an extended school year experience for students. And we will be using Title I and Title III funds for that, and it will be at least 5 weeks. We also are going to use it for professional development, and Title I is focused on literacy and also L instructional practices. Title III will be focused on language acquisition, and Title IV will be focused on equity. We also have used a Title II funds for our mentoring program. So we hired 35 new educators this year. So we are able to fund many of those mentors through our Title II funding. And we also have to have a parent engagement portion of this, and that is focused on equity, and that is coming from our Title III. So our Title I total grant is $205,000. $639,000. Summer school, we have allocated $20,000. And for professional development and coaching for literacy and L, we have put aside $100,000, and we have $75,000 for H2IM, which is high quality instructional materials, and that is also aligned to our DIP. For Title II, we have a little over $35,000, and for Title IV, we have $10,000, and we actually took that $10,000 and put it right into our Title I funding this year. So that made that not separate this year. And then Barbara will talk about Title.
And our Title III grant was $53,002, 16, almost 17,000 of that is for 3 summer school positions, teacher positions. 32,000 is toward PD and online platforms that we use for data and progress monitoring for our English learners. 3,700 was toward family engagement and cultural events, and then 200 and nearly almost 254 Medicaid teaching positions. Thank you. Yep.
And once again, I oversee IDEA, which is the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, in the federal entitlement grants. When a student enters into an IEP with the district, they are then entering into an entitlement. It's their legal right to get the services that are outlined in that IEP. With the understanding of that, we are funded by the federal government in allowing us to build on the programming and services that we need. Our fiscal year 26 allocations have been appropriated much differently this year than they have been in the past, and that has risen just because of how we switched around some. no programming was compromised as a result of these switching or reallocations. But our total grant funding, we have two IDEA grants. One is the 240, one is the 262, which is exclusively early childhood education. So our 240 IDEA grant allocation was $550 for $3,872. A little over 252,000 of that was allocated to professional salaries. That is designated right now to an occupational therapist. That is also designated to a grade 3 high needs special needs teacher at NIS. That's also allocated to a new position that was created this year where we have a compliance special education liaison who also goes directly to the private schools to provide special education services there. And she also picks up some of the need for when we need to get an IEP meeting in order to make compliant. And with that, we are required to pay NTRS, and that's Teachers Retirement System. So some of our grant money is paying retirement benefits as well. Which, as you can see in your presentation, a little over $22,000 is allocated to that. Our non-professional salaries for our teaching assistants amounts to about $177,000. And again, primarily, these are teaching assistant positions that are allocated. We cover they're allocated mostly at the high school. There's a couple at NES, and I think one at NIS is 4 total. And again, our grant money also has to pay indirect expenses towards Medicare, which is a little over $1,000. As I just mentioned, we have an equitable services entitlement that we have to cover, and we are bound to allocate $14,570 of the total grant has to be allocated to the provision of special ed to students in the private schools on the island, Nantucket Lighthouse School, Nantucket New School. And understanding in doing that, that entire amount was absorbed into the teacher salary that I just referenced. So we were able to meet that need. And that does not require, for academic services, students can stay at their private schools and she teaches them directly there. And there's currently 8 students that are at the private school, between the 2 private schools. The allocation for early childhood education, which is a little over $10,000, we pay 30% of the teaching assistant's salary in the early childhood program. Again, for the allocation, this is $8,173 more than our allocation from last year for fiscal year 25. For the past 4 school years, the district has been found significantly disproportionate special eligibility determination for Hispanic, Latino, and Black and African American students. We were not found significantly disproportionate last year, so we are no longer bound to allocate our money towards improving that instruction. So overall, in terms of our conclusion, the title grants and IDEA are ongoing entitlements. We are required to use that federal money for direct services to students. In order to maintain the high level of quality PD, we will need to increase the general fund budget line. So for instance, in years past, the IDEA grant was used to fund the extended school year program. That is now completely absorbed by the general budget because our entire IDEA grant right now is salary. And then we will continue to align it and prioritize the district improvement plan and the strategic initiatives in order to support our grants as well. We're happy to answer any questions.
I have a question.
Sure.
The Latino and Black students that are on IEPs.
Yeah.
You sort of hinted that we weren't meeting their needs.
Yes. According to the state government.
But are we meeting them now?
Yes, we are. For 4 years in a row, we were found significantly disproportionate. We have now hit the benchmark for them to be no longer considering it. So the program and services that we are providing are, in theory, there are a lot of factors to consider, but one would posit to say that we are meeting the needs at this point. Yes.
No questions. Thank you for that presentation.
Thank you very much.
May I, to the vice chair? Just a few updates that have come through recently. The title funding has been, it has been shared with superintendents that title funding for FY 27 coming up for next year is likely to be very much reduced. The federal government has been clear that they will be cutting across the board for now, particularly Title II, Title I, the title grants, not necessarily IDEA yet. That hasn't been determined. And the oversight of these grants has been moved to different agencies, which I have perhaps shared before. IDEA will go to the Department of Public Health. Small business, Department of Small Businesses will be for Title I, I believe. I think they're trying to get rid of Title III entirely, so I'm not sure where that's going to go, but that's kind of where we're at. I will certainly keep you all updated when I have more specifics on that, but that's where we're at with title funding.
Question, is there any conversation through DESI or anything like that, that there is any scope that the state might pick up the difference?
The state will do everything it can to support maintaining dollars available to assist our students who are economically disadvantaged or students who are multilingual or students with disabilities. But there's obviously a limit to this, what the state can do as well. But they will do everything possible. Hopefully, you'll see more support at the state level.
How many bilingual teachers do you have for those kids? Maybe Latino, Black, disadvantaged?
We don't have a bilingual program, so we can't necessarily use, we have teachers who are bilingual, but they are not teaching in another language. So if I had to guess, I would say of our L teachers, how many would you say? 6, 7 bilingual?
A good number of bilingual staff, including teens.
Right.
But we are sheltered English immersion program model, so we are teaching in English.
So if first language is used, which it can be, it's for clarification, but not for instruction. So if we had a dual language model or a transitional bilingual model, then that would be different. But we don't have that. We use SEI, which is sheltered immersion.
It's also important to note that if we were to move to a bilingual model, teachers have to have that endorsement. It's not just hiring someone who speaks 2 languages. They also have to do qualifications.
It's a state license.
That I don't believe it is.
I'm curious, how does that model, the current model, for new students entering the district that may speak a different language at home? I encountered one last Wednesday, and he was so frustrated and actually asked, why is everyone speaking English? And luckily, I understand enough Spanish to understand what he was asking his mom. So I started speaking in Spanish just to make him feel more comfortable. But
I think in the short term, it can be overwhelming, but as anyone who's studied languages knows, the best way to learn is by immersion and surrounded by native speakers. So in the short term, it can be very overwhelming. It's also overwhelming for teachers to have even one student who doesn't speak any English in a classroom. But there are strategies, and that's part of the PD we're providing through our title grants, is to help teachers, reinforce their toolbox for working with students who have lower English development levels. But children learn pretty quickly, and they do come around. They learn social language very, very quickly on the playground and in lunchroom. And the purpose of the sheltered English immersion program is to really go for academic language, so the language is fluent. And they do well. I think it's students learn, they pick it up pretty quickly. The Department of Education, the OLA office, the Office for Language Acquisition, is the vision is that students will learn in 6 years. And they will be exited from English Language Services. So within 6 years. So that's why we see the highest numbers of students exiting English Language Services at, for example, NIS and also CPS. Because they're creating services for these 3 years and they've got a good amount of academic language in their belts.
Any question? I like to touch on the fact that it might be slightly different depending on what level the student is.
Yeah.
But they
grade level
got into that, so.
Absolutely. That makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
Questions, comments? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we'll be there. Yes, we will move to committee discussions and votes to be taken.
Just wanted to comment on the.
You want me to comment first? Okay.
I see Chris at the back, but great to see that, I said Jack, hi Jack, sorry. My bad, I said Chris instead of Jack, my bad. Thank you for going through the trouble of doing an MOU. I greatly appreciate it. The point 8 in the MOU itself. I see in the quotes, it comes out to $111,000 on the agenda. It's $116,400. Is that 5,400 the concrete pad from Toscana? Yeah, I'm good.
So you need to make a motion.
Well,
I'll make that motion.
I was going to acknowledge Kate for confirming what he was saying. Sorry. Okay, so I'm looking for a vote to approve the donation of the Bacchus Lane dugout with the estimate value of $116,400. So can I get a second?
Where's it going? Where's it coming from?
Mostly, it's a group of do you want to speak to this, Jack? 4 or 5 different groups, particularly Mount Fiber is kind of a lead on it. And let me see.
We've been fortunate to
design Nantucket Garden Incorporated, Island Lumber Company, and Barber and Sons in Toscana. That's the group body.
Second.
and roll call votes.
You don't need to vote.
We don't have to roll call this? Perfect. So all in favor?
Aye.
And with thanks to all of the individuals involved with bringing this project to us.
Now that it's been approved, they still can want to thank the school committee personal or rooming, I guess, for having the dugout. You approved?
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Oh, I'm not out there banging, man.
Okay, vote to approve the fundraising check from Hayward Photography for $2,200.92 to NES student activity account. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Vote to approve the fundraising check from EduKit for $150.54 to NES student activity account.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Vote to approve the fundraising check from Hayward Photography for $1,417.94 to NIS student activity account.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Vote to approve the fundraising check from Hayward Photography for $1,598.57 to CPS student activity account.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Vote to approve the fundraising check from Hayward Photography for $1,487.64 to NHS student activity account.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Vote to approve the following donations totaling $5,063.95 to NHS/CPS Music Department to be used for the Disney field trip from Custom Inc. and Mary Catherine Leclerc. $2,063.95 from Custom Inc. and $3,000 from Mary.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Vote to approve the donation from Stephen Spinelli and Carol Fulton Spinelli for $1,000 to the NHS/CPS Music Department to be used for the Disney field trip.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Vote to approve the donation from Toscana for $5,000 to the NHS/CPS Music Department to be used for the Disney field trip.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And vote to approve the September 2nd, 2025 meeting minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Vote to approve. Vote to approve the September 22nd meeting minutes.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Vote to approve the October 8th, 2025 meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Vote to approve the October 22nd, 2025 workshop meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Vote. Thanksgiving.
Betty, you're the best. Vote to approve transfers and invoices.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And, submitting committee work to report on?
We have student.
Okay. So we'll move to the student council representative.
Yes, hello, okay, I'm gonna summarize a lot of this. Thank you so much for hearing the student voices for the turf field / grassroots debate. It's been a fierce topic of discussion even through like the 30 minutes that we have to get to our separate classes. So just be warned that the students will probably not back down. And we will try our best to make our, as you can see, our voices heard. Winter sports has gotten underway starting December 1st. I want to kind of reconcile a statement I made last time I was at this table. I said that most student athletes are in favor of the turf fields, and students who aren't part of the students who aren't a part of the athletics department don't really have much of an opinion. The first half does remain true. The second half may not have represented everyone who doesn't consider themselves athletic. Some of our athletic teams find themselves with less players this winter season. To quote a senior I asked who was going to put sports on their college application, said they dropped the sports because they didn't feel proud enough of the grass and the fact that teams do not come to play on Nantucket to write about it on their college application. And to quote a sophomore who had to end their career early last winter because they were forced on crutches, they said that they would not be returning to winter sports because, and I quote, "I would like to get through high school without breaking another bone." That just happened to be something I would like to apologize for the last video. Moving to more light-hearted topics. The winter break half day has been largely accepted. No one seems to care. And the people who were going to leave early are still going to leave early, so nothing much has changed there. For the February Disney field trip for the music department, everyone, we want to thank the Nantucket community at large for your support so far. The custom ink fundraiser was a success. Everyone's rocking their music department movies. And we would like to ask for a continuation of spread support from the community. We had a successful Jamaican fundraiser dinner, and that happens around the same lines, like thank you community for all your support. We'd like to continue asking support from the community for the families that were affected by Hurricane Melissa. And watch out for December Delight coming this Saturday, the 13th. Yeah, seniors have a lot prepared, so show up for that. And then I think that's all I have for this student representative.
No, oh goodness, no, she's incredibly
crossing things off of your list as she was stealing your thunder over there.
sorry, I didn't mean to. I do have a couple of subcommittee work group report reminders. Policy subcommittee, please be, Laura's not here, but we'll need to meet quickly in order to work on the policy that is for graduation IKF. And then negotiations begins on this Thursday, December 11th, starting at 3 p.m. It should be a fairly short meeting. It will be online. We will do virtual negotiations for several meetings to get things off the ground. We have our attorneys and the MTA or NTA attorney will be present as well. So we will do that for some of our meetings, and then hopefully we will get to meet in person as well. But first meeting will begin on the 3rd. It is likely it will be quite short, in which case afterwards there will be a continuation for preparation. So hopefully we'll be able to adjourn by 5.
1 year represent.
Teachers. And that's it for subcommittee work groups, unless you all have.
Thank you for sharing that meeting invite that you sent us last week. I know the Spencer's on it as well.
Yeah.
That was really helpful to be a part of the rest of the Massachusetts schools that are currently going through the
Great.
So good to hear what's going on elsewhere. Thanks.
I did forget one thing. Ari, I don't know about you. I think you might have been invited on, which I didn't check the list. Did some kind of training for negotiations that was run by was it NHS? And it was extremely useful just to see how things went in other districts, but also to see the longevity that it's so the sheer length of time it takes to get some kind of that speed on it.
Yeah, I saw you on it. I had to make sure you were there.
But that was very interesting, very useful, and it can seem to be a protracted affair. But it looks like that almost every district gets to something acceptable eventually, and that's what I hope to do in fairly short order here. Fingers crossed.
Okay, agenda for the next meeting on December 16th, it will be a celebratory meeting. It's one of my favorite of the year because we will be inviting students to come. We have the MASS and NSDC Senior Student Awards. And then the Adams Scholarships recipients will also be invited to come. We will finalize the school year 26-27 proposed calendar. We'll hear from our middle and high school on the Yonder Initiative, which are the pouches. We will give you a more detailed look at the competency determination, particularly the policy if we're able to update it, but I certainly can spend a little more time with that. And then if there's any additional information that needs to be brought to light for the Capizzo Stadium renovation, we can do that. And that's it.
Motion to adjourn. All in favor?